And how do you keep up to date everything, like, like on battery science, founder stuff? Like, how do you
Mm.
keep up to date everything you have to keep up to date on?
Yeah, I try not very hard. I would say there's certain things where there's a couple things that are mission critical for me to solve to move the company forward. I do have a big backlog of links that I'll collect. Like, okay, I have to go read this paper, not today, but I'll think about maybe absorbing that eventually. We'll see somebody publish something that seems pretty applicable to what we're doing. So see if we can you know uh, see what we can glean from what other people are doing in the field and integrate that into what we're up to. Um, but, but yeah, there's only so much you can do with 24 hours in a day. So uh, I've not necessarily even been very good at this, but I try to focus in on, okay, what are the top two or three things that are going to move the needle for the company, and then get those things done.
Who else is doing this besides you?
As far as like competitors,
Yeah.
or there's a couple other startups in the similar realm, in the general battery analytics space. I would say our main competition is internal R&D teams.
Mhm.
So it's like a buy versus build type of question. So um, a handful of other startups, but it's really does this company want to do it themselves? Which a lot of times they what's the expression? Not invented here syndrome. That's something that we're into. If if they want to do it themselves, then that's great. But we're trying to provide a differentiated offering to say, okay, here's what you've got right now. Here are the things we can provide off the shelf, and then kind of cast the vision of here are all the things that we on a long enough time horizon build out infrastructure for quality assurance, build out infrastructure for monitoring in the field. Once you have some of these things set up, then you by default have infrastructure for saying, okay, now at the end of life, we can go hand this off to the next person, either for recycling or repurposing. But yeah, this is an active problem I'm trying to solve for myself, is figuring out how we what's the right combination of words that will help click what we're doing into our customers' brains. But
So, how does your company become successful, whatever successful is to you?
yeah, we're a pretty lean team. Success, different levels of success. The one I'm focusing on right now is let's just bootstrap our way to profitability to the extent possible. If we want to go raise money and scale things from there, we can think about doing that. But the things I'm worried about right now are, okay, let's go get customers XYZ under our belt and happily situated, and then just have a niche that we can own for ourselves. And I think that's where our focus on defense applications and commercial industrial type applications can be a useful niche that we can establish ourselves in. We're a little bit late to the game as far as automotive is concerned, so it's not necessarily our focus. Um, but yeah, the core thesis is things are getting electrified at a pace much faster than the rate at which we're developing new battery experts. So if we can provide that extra level of service and then productize that service around making their batteries work, then that's how we establish ourselves as in a niche, and then kind of land and expand from there.
Um, and how many people do you have in your team right now?
Yeah, there's three of us who are full time, another half dozen who are part time in different capacities. So, um, you know, product development, marketing, sales, mostly on the software engineering and algorithm development side of things.
And so, how have you been able to convince these people to come work for you, right? Because startups is like a toss no win, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a couple different things. UW has been great for recruiting for us. So I think just about everybody um, on the team has come through the door somehow through a UW connection. So, no, I like to basically set it up such that let's go do some kind of internship or short term process for getting things started. If things go well, then we can expand your contribution from there. Just kind of like you call it dating, I suppose. Step one.
Yeah.
That's we don't need to jump into getting married together right off the bat. Let's slow step it a little bit, and if we're able to do some smaller things together successfully, then we can we're happy to ramp things up.
So, for the people who've been in your company, what's like a number of characteristics they've had that's made them successful working for you? Like all your employees that made it or successful, they had this one characteristic.
Yeah, that's a good question. Hmm. Yeah, they just get their work done. You know, they don't complain, and then when we said, okay, we're going to do this thing gets done. You know, being successful at a startup or anywhere, a lot of it is just say what you're going to do and then do it.
Yeah.
And that's like 90% of it. Everything else is, at least in my experience, the other 10% would be you can make it fancier than that. But if you just do the thing that you said you're going to do, that solves most of your problems.
So how do you deal with this? Like, there's a myth out there. If you start a company, 6 months later, you be a multi-billionaire, right?
Mm.
I think a lot of employees have the same misconception. I think a lot of employees work at a startup and expect 6 months later to get millions of dollars, right?
Mm.
How do you tell your new employees, hey, this is a startup, yes, but it's not a overnight success, right? You have to put in some work in.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back to me trying to undersell and then over deliver. I try to be very upfront about, okay, here's all the things that are fires in the background that we need to put out eventually. Here's number 1 fire. Here's number 2 fire. Here's number 3 fire. But number 1 fire has to get solved before we can worry about these other things. So. I try to be pretty forthright about here's the challenges that we're facing as a company. If that's not for you, no worries, it's all good. But this is where we're at as a company. This is what we need you to be doing. Or if that's not you, then no worries. But you just gotta go do that somewhere else.
So you say you try to focus on 2 or 3 things that move the company forward, but usually you get 10, 20 more things per day added to your list of things, right? So how do you keep from getting overwhelmed? Like we're only doing 2 things, even though it's moving the company forward, and you get people adding stuff to you all the time, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm still not great at this. There's still, some random. What's that quadrant? There's urgent, there's important, there's I forget the guy's name.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
But there's the things that are urgent, and okay, I'll take care of the urgent stuff.
Yeah.
If it's urgent, not important, I can delegate that maybe. The thing that I'm not the greatest at, but would like to get better at. I think this is true for most people, is doing the things that are not urgent but important. So it's easy to do the urgent important things. It's not as easy to do okay, I got to go and write a bunch of cold emails or something that I don't really want to do. But those are the things where generating new conversations.
Yeah, it doesn't pay off today, but maybe a year from now it's going to pay off.
Right. I just had a guy today email me I met him a year and a half ago, and today he's reaching out about. Putting something together now. So
you never know, right?
Yeah, it's got to plant a bunch of seeds. I have no idea. I have no opinion about which ones are.
How do you keep track of all these seeds? Do you follow up on a regular basis? You just plant them? How does that work for you?
No, well, we do not as good of a job as we otherwise could probably, but we've got some basic CRM tools and things like that. So whenever I'm sending an email, that gets logged to HubSpot, and all right, well, I can at least see that I dropped the ball following up with them, but but it's not necessarily urgent to go and take care of some of these things immediately. At least if we can get on people's radar, then we're not an impulse purchase. We're one of those things where, like I said, we plant seeds today, and then a year from now, then they're thinking about this process. They're going to do some kind of CapEx initiative, or they're going to do some initiative that we can factor into. Or we can play a role with upgrading their lab, or upgrading their analytics, or upgrading whatever that problem area for them might be.
Is there any type of networking that you do?
We've gone to a bunch of trade shows and things like that, so that's a good...
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way for us to at least get the word out and shake hands with a bunch of folks who either I think they're our target customer and then they're not, or I wasn't sure about, and now we learned.
So there's some kind of battery trade show out there somewhere?
There's a bunch of battery things.
Okay.
It's the good and the bad thing about what we're doing is batteries go into all different kinds of things. So I've been learning about all these different industries, electric aviation, or materials handling, forklifts, that kind of thing, micromobility, stationary storage, automotive, all kinds of things got batteries in them. That's where we've been historically struggling, but then starting to dial in more on, okay, these are the exact type of people we can help. Let's focus in on this core subset here, and then land and expand from there as we develop.
And you're running this by yourself, right? You're the only founder?
Yes.
So you hear these experts. You need 3 founders. You need this, that, and a lot of times they say if you're founded by yourself, there's no way you're getting funding, right? Why did you decide to just do it by yourself, so to speak?
Yeah. Man, I guess another interesting story there. We went to incorporate the company. We've had a little bit of. This is where we have had other co-founders who are no longer at the company. No harm, no foul, anything like that. But that's where I was saying, okay, let's go and row the boat this direction. We get to one of these pivot points, and it's like, okay, things are not going as well as we hoped we were. So, if they've got a better opportunity, then they got to go do something else. More power to them. That's understandable. But we've had have had co-founders in the past who are no longer at the company. But it is one of those things where still had rounds in the chamber. So let's just keep on trucking and see what we can do with going from here's the original plan. That plan is kaput. We got to go try this other thing. Some people don't want to go down this other path. That's fine. But this is the new initiative we're pursuing.
Do you think you ever bring on a co-founder in the future? Or you're like on your own for now? Like someone came in like, man, you tell the really passionate, they really love what you're doing. Like, man, I want to be a co-founder and actually offer you a good deal for equity and stuff. Like, they don't want to cap the company. They want to make 10, 50%, and they can actually add value. Would you actually take them on as a co-founder? Like, okay, that's I've done that in the past. That's no more.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm open to it if it's the right fit. That's again one of those things where let's see if we can't scope out. Okay, if you can accomplish X, Y, Z, then these are the things we need. Then if you can deliver, then happy to compensate you for delivering on some promise you can make.
So let's suppose back to hiring. Like suppose like someone's listening to this and like they're like really geeked out about batteries, right? For whatever reason, right? They love batteries and they want to like work for your team. Mm-hmm. What would they have to do? So they reach out to you on LinkedIn. Like what do they need to do?
Yeah, I guess a combination. One is I don't have any openings right now. Happy to talk if there's a fit. If they just want to get on my radar, I guess that's fine. Don't have any openings right now, but yeah, we just reach out to me on LinkedIn, find my email, go to our website, that kind of thing. It's one of those things where I do get a decent amount of inbound people asking for stuff, like if there's any available openings. Unfortunately not right now, but happy to get on my radar if people are interested.